Hi, my name is Miriam Burnaby, and I'm a volunteer here at Greenburgh Town Hall, and it is my pleasure to introduce our featured artist, Mr. Howard Robinson. Howard is an extraordinary photographer, and his current exhibit, Fallen Flowers, is currently on display in our first floor gallery space through February 27th. Beyond his work as a photographer, Howard's accomplishments are nothing short of inspiring. He's been a professor, a psychotherapist, a child and family therapist, also worked as a sociolinguistic researcher, classical pianist, an expediter at a fancy restaurant, which I'm not sure what that is, but we're going to find out, served as a trauma recovery consultant in Rwanda, traveled the world studying languages, and is a passionate collector of art. Welcome, Howard.
Thank you, Miriam.
Well, clearly you bring a wealth of experience to your art. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how photography became part of your life.
Photography, I think I've always been drawn to images. I think in images a lot, and that was sort of natural to me, so it was a part of how I think and how I view things early on. As is music, I hear music as well as sort of see images.
Mm-hmm.
When my parents took a trip to Europe, they saved up and took their first trip, and we went on the SS United States, went to France and some other places. They were nice enough and thoughtful enough to bring my brother and I along. I was, I think, 10, and my brother was about 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting a Polaroid camera. And there was the time where you take the shot and you pull it out, you count X amount of seconds, and then you lift it off, and what do you have? And it was so exciting. And I think I just kept taking Polaroids everywhere, and that was my first experience with a camera. But then I began to use the camera a lot more in my work as I began to do more international travel in my work. And I felt that, wow, I really need to have a camera and to take some photos, and it's an opportunity. And that's when I really got more involved with taking landscapes and just really taking things whenever the moment hit me, to take photos of everything. I didn't know too much what I was doing. I didn't have a lot of technical knowledge. And so since I've retired a few years ago, it was an opportunity to come back to this and to enter into the study of photography more deeply, and to get some mentoring, to really learn how photography works and some of the techniques to be able to control a lot more what I'm doing and to do things more intentionally. So that's how things have evolved.
So you took classes with photography, or
I didn't take classes.
You worked with
I
mentors,
worked with an individual who would help me with some of the post-processing programs that are now required in order to work on photographs, digital photographs, and to help me to learn how to use a camera and to understand how a camera works. I mean, it was really beginning at ground zero on that.
Great. All right, before we go further, what is an expediter at a fancy restaurant?
An expediter is the director of confusion in the back of a restaurant where all the waiters come to order their meals and to pick up their meals. And I stood in the middle of the restaurant with a speaker that just went out to all of the cooks we call it in the back. It was in the hot food section, but there were probably about 8 different cooks there. And I would call out all the orders. And this was a tavern on the Green.
Oh, wow.
And so we oftentimes had 1,200 covers in a night. And it was crazy busy and, absolute chaos. And I had to bring order to that. And I was actually second in command to the chef because, the chef was the most important, or the sous chef. And then my job was to help get all the wonderful food that the chef and sous chefs have created to get it out to the customers to enjoy in the way that the chefs would hope that they would.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now we know. Let's get back to our gallery space here. And what inspired your theme? Fallen flowers, that's a very interesting concept. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, the inspiration evolved over time. This project took me more than a year, probably about a year and a half. And the idea developed over time and kind of evolved. I often take photos of things that just catch my attention. For this exhibit, I must say that I was walking my dog one day, and it was at that golden hour of the afternoon. The sun was just beginning to set, and the light is extraordinary at that time, and just happened to be falling on these flowers. And I said, oh my, that's just an unbelievable tableau that I'm seeing. And so I got my dog in really quickly, grabbed my camera and ran out before the moment passed, because one of the things about photography when you're trying to catch something in a certain light is 2 minutes, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to just snap this photo that was just laid out in front of me, and looking at that and what I had captured really began to make me think more about these kinds of flowers that had passed their peak bloom. And then I began to look more intentionally for blossoms that sort of fit that category. And I didn't really know what was driving me. And I realized after I was already into the project that, this is interesting. I'm 72. I'm really having some difficulty myself in transitioning to retirement and thinking about old age and what's next. And then it was like, oh, yes, this is about me.
Yeah,
and
me too.
And many of us.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the many of us that began to make me realize that if I could put together a show of some sort that was consistent or had a consistent theme to it, that it could be very valuable to those of us who are aging, and to their children and to their parents.
Yeah, I must say it's compelling. Each of the photographs are really compelling.
I mean, thank you.
So let's talk about a few of your favorite photos. Then I'll tell you my favorite.
Okay. I have many favorites. Again, the old saying, it's hard to choose a favorite among your children.
Right.
But I think I'll focus on the moment for some of the photos that raise specific kinds of issues that I think are contemporary right now. One, for example, is that I call Survivor, which can mean many things. And by the way, even though I have titles that represent my perception of how I see the photo, it's absolutely the viewer's right and only meaningful to the viewer to bring what he or she sees and what it means to them. But Survivor means a lot to me, certainly with my background in trauma recovery, in knowing so many people who have had traumas in their life, not to mention that becoming old is an accomplishment in itself to survive all of the kinds of issues that we go through that are so challenging. And also survivors in terms of physical health, because the photo itself has missing petals, and for me sometimes evokes physical disability. And I wanted what I'm showing to try to reach as many different kinds of people as possible, that they could see themselves. So I wanted to represent disabilities of different sorts, you know. And so that's why this particular photo is important to me.
Yeah.
Another photo along that same sort of social vein, and I think this speaks to my background in social work, more an awareness of those people who are unseen. And so I like them to be seen so that they exist.
Right.
To be seen is to exist and is to be recognized and to be valuable. And if you're not seen, then sometimes you don't experience yourself that way, nor do others. So one is called Colorful Friends, and there are 3 blooms that are in very distinct different colors. And colorful really was my allusion to diversity. Colorful friends could mean many things. Could be friends of totally different interests, friends who are different from oneself, and also different ethnicities, and speaks to my mind, to the importance of diversity and inclusion in our world.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's special. And then there are 2 photos in the rotunda here, which are 2 of the largest photos that are just frankly beautiful in themselves. And they function to set the color palette of the show, and that's why I like them. One is all yellow palette, one is all red palette. And I'm very intentional about how this show was put together, both in color, in the choice of labels that I've given different photos that are specific and intentionally written to evoke aspects of our aging process, such as lost intimacy, lost selves, a place to be held, or a safe place to be held, or that kind of idea, or a sense of farewell, or a well-lived life. That I guess what I was saying was that I'm very intentional about how this was set up, both in color palette, in theme, and in movement from color to black and white, because they're both color photos and black and white photos.
And you were talking about the 2 larger photos, and the yellow one is my favorite one. And I don't know exactly why, but I think it speaks to the idea that beauty is different when you're older. And those flowers are older, but they're beautiful nonetheless. And I don't know, you never know why something speaks to you, but I just love that yellow photo.
Well, it's very interesting, and I love hearing your comment that beauty is different when we get older. I think that's quite profound, that our concepts of what is beautiful changes, as do our concepts of many different things when we get older, through a different lens, through experience. And it does change, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, that other photo that actually our photographer, he liked, and it was the photo of the joyful youthfulness of the flowers, even though they were dying, which was interesting.
Playful to the end.
Yes,
and
I love that.
That's too. Yes, I wanted to bring in the playful. Not everything is solemn, and that they were blossoms that had all fallen, but were of many different sorts and have a kind of happy look and a playful look and a spontaneous look, even though the colors don't necessarily match, and so you have that above the water fountain also, so a little bit of sense of fountain of youth there.
So intentional, everything's so intentional. I love it. And I love the fact that there are these old flowers that are, in so many different circumstances and evoke these different feelings. It's really quite special. Now, in terms of the process of capturing these photos, you talked to me before about equipment, what kind of equipment you use, whether it's a phone or a camera or digital, or do you do darkroom at all, and how is it manipulated? I know Photoshop is one of those processes that one can use.
That's right. I use a digital camera. And so it's uploaded into the computer, and the different post-processing, like the one you mentioned, Photoshop, are absolutely essential. They're because taking a photo doesn't necessarily represent your vision, doesn't represent what you see in that and what you want to say in that. And that, to me, is the real fun, and the art of it is how you can bring out certain pieces through these programs, something of the color, of the lighting, to make backgrounds, perhaps in the case of this show, oftentimes quite dark, and to bring the blossom to the fore, because it helps to bring that blossom to the fore and make it stand out. So, and it also helps to be able to create some consistency of the photographs that you're showing, because it's important in an exhibit that they somehow talk to each other, that these different photos relate to each other, that have some kind of style. One of the things that was very special to me was, in doing this, I developed a style for the first time. I felt that a style that represented me, which I hadn't achieved before. So it's very exciting to me to have developed some sense of my own unique style. And so I hope to continue to be able to develop that kind of photographic identity to move on.
Yeah, I think it's very clear, because it's your psychotherapist background and your global perspective from all the travel that you've done. It is evident in the way that you've approached this exhibit. I think it's very, just the fact that we talked about how much emotion is evoked from the different shots and all that, and then your global perspective. How would you say your global perspective has helped you in your art?
Well, I think one of the things when you travel and have a perspective outside of one's own culture and one's own world helps you to appreciate other ways of living, other concepts of what makes a good life, of what beautiful is, other cultures. And so I think it helps to open up, and has helped to open up my mind to thinking differently, and gives me kind of greater security in thinking, how could I take a different perspective on that? What might look different, or how can I find my own way of seeing things? And I think it's very true, Miriam, that all of my experiences influence me in ways that I don't even know, perhaps. Right. But I think that's sort of the beauty of it as well, that whenever you're doing something, it represents something that's important to you, and that your life up until that point has brought you to see and to explore and to discover.
Absolutely. What do you hope viewers take away from this exhibit?
I really hope that viewers take away something that is meaningful to them, that they see in a particular photo. I want the viewer to feel moved. It's important to me that emotion is evoked, and that each person finds something specifically meaningful to them. And I also have a hope that it might open up conversations about things with family and with others, perhaps with friends, that in appreciation, just to help bring the whole idea of aging, to make it an open conversation and more of a normal conversation in our lives that maybe people hold back on talking about. Right. And I think, I guess it's also a kind of bias from my own therapy work, that open discussion is something that is very intimate. It creates intimacy, even if it's conflict, and sharing those kinds of things openly, there's a shared intimacy, and then a real knowing of each other. The social face doesn't come out, but the inner person comes out. And so I think that's part of my hope, is that this kind of open conversation can be created, and that we will all become more appreciative of what aging means to us personally, and to society in general.
Okay, we have finally come to my signature question. How do you, Howard, define your own success as an artist?
My own success is when I feel that I have been able to explore something very meaningful to me, and that I've been able to find a way to move it from the inside out. And that what I have, in this case, let's say concretely a photo, that what I have created in a photo kind of matches what inside is important to me and what my vision is, to be able to represent the vision, my feeling about something, and that sort of has an aha experience as well, so that it both represents something that's inside of me, but also a discovery that is exciting. Mm. And that's what I would define my success as. And then a next step would be that it also lands and finds meaning with the viewer. Mm-hmm. Because I could feel satisfied in a bubble of myself. I had a wise teacher once who said, when you have something of beauty, it needs to be shared. Mm. You have a responsibility to share it.
Interesting.
And I always think about that. And so I feel that there's a kind of responsibility to share it, and that advances its meaning and can create some kind of transformation in others.
Wow. Well, it has been a delight talking to you. You are a Renaissance man, if ever I met one. And the work is beautiful. So I urge you all to come and see this outstanding exhibit, which is here through February 27th. And of course, thank you to Howard, and thank you to Paul Feiner and Sarah Bracey-White and Janelle Wallace, and of course our videographer Terrence Brosnan. Come and see this exhibit. You will not be sorry.